it's Julia. Today I wanted to share with you what I've been working on this last week or so. Still kind of getting product ready for the flea market, my flea market shop, and also some of my upcoming craft shows. But this little gem here is a suitcase that I got for a Christmas gift 50 years ago. I was 8 years old, so I guess I kind of dated myself there, but I was 8 years old when I got this for Christmas, and my mom had found it in our attic. So I don't even know how old it is, but it was probably at least 20 years old, 30 years old when she dug it out of the attic 50 years ago. But isn't it an awesome size? I just love what they used to do with suitcases. I love the little leather handle and just the rusty kind of patinaed hardware that's on it. But she gave this to me for Christmas, and it was filled with handmade Barbie clothes that she had made while I was in school. So it just, I don't even know where all the Barbie clothes are. Those were played with, and my daughter played with them, and so, but I still kept the suitcase, and now I use it for display when I go to shows, and it makes just such an awesome prop. I can just open it up. It's so cool on the inside too. But this is what I have it filled with. I just got these made up this week, and they're cuffs. I have a lot of leather cuffs, fabric cuffs, denim kind of cuffs, and I use just a huge assortment of things on them. I wanted to share a couple ideas today, but I also wanted to give you like a quick tutorial on how I made one of the specific cuffs. Just some ideas. I did make these little pillows to display all my cuffs on, and they're just various fabrics that I had. I did a lot of die cutting with my Sizzix Big Shot. I used the fabric die. Didn't that just make a great cuff? I do vary the widths of my cuffs somewhat, but most of the lengths are the same. They're like 9 inches, and I also set the snaps so that they are adjustable. And I will kind of go over that, kind of the measurements for you too, so you can kind of see how I do that. Because I sell these at craft shows, I do want them to be somewhat more accommodating to most people's size wrists. And so that is one of them that I used with my die cut. Another one that I used is this one. It wraps your wrist twice, but it has the arrow, Artfully arrow, it's called, die cut by Sizzix. And love how that one turned out too. Because this leather is quite thin, I'm able just to sew right through it with my sewing machine. And so I just have a stitch line all the way down through each one of these arrows. You can kind of see it on the back side maybe a little bit better. And another thing I did was a lot of fabric cuffs, both with the denim fabric and also the muslin fabric. So much fun. I did a lot of stamping, added a lot of the vintage lace, fun buttons. The fabric cuffs are all adjustable in the back with just a piece of elastic, an elastic closure with a button. And again, a lot of stamping. As I make the cuff first, so it's kind of like a blank canvas, and then I can just create and do whatever I want with it. Similar to an art journal page where you just have a blank canvas and you can just put whatever you want on them. Such a great way to use up little bits and pieces of what you might have. This one is really fun. This is an actual fabric collage that I have, and with the vintage lace that I have put on with just another muslin rosette flower. This is the one that I wanted to share with you today though, and this is a leather cuff, but I use this vintage lace. And this is the same vintage lace that I found it at the thrift store, and I put it in my last, I think it was one of my last sweatshirt transformation videos. I will also link that, but I use this vintage lace to embellish a sweatshirt. But it makes such a fun cuff. I love how it kind of just falls down on your wrist. And again, it just being able to add different buttons. So this is the one that we're gonna work on today. This is the vintage lace that I had found at a thrift store, and it has these just awesome kind of scallop sections to it. And in each section has just a lot of interesting little motifs. For each one of the cuffs, I used this much of it. So basically one scalloped motif part and then a half of one on each side. I also cut out one of the flower motifs and I used one of those. A 2-inch yo-yo. And the cuff that I used, or the piece of scrap leather, I cut to measure 1 inch wide by 9 inches. Just some other odds and ends that I use. It helps to have binder clips or something to kind of hold the lace in place while you sew it. I am using Aleene's Jewelette embellishing glue to hold. The only thing that's glued is the button. And I do have like an interesting button kind of that I was in my stash that I will use, and I will glue that onto the yo-yo. I find that it just works easier to glue the button than to try to sew it through all the layers. So I do use that. Another thing that I like to do with the actual lace itself, and this one I've already done, but I spray it with some heavy starch, and that just gives it a nice body and makes it just kind of lay a little bit better and just easy to work with. To get started, notice how the lace is a little bit off center, just because I want to be able to have room for the double snap on, or the two sides of the snap on one end, so that it is adjustable. And then the decorative snap part is on this end. And so to do this, I kind of just pinch and kind of turn under the lace on both sides and just kind of lay it on the leather. I do want this to go off the leather and just kind of hang on the outside. And then I'm just folding this down and just clipping it into place, kind of where I'm wanting it. I will be taking this to the sewing machine next, and I'm going to be sewing with my regular sewing machine, just edge stitching this in place. I'm using just a regular sewing needle, size 14, but it's a new one that I'm going to be putting in my machine. And then when I'm done sewing all this leather, I'm just going to throw it out. I don't want to use the needle for my fabric sewing after I go through all this leather. There is needles specifically for leather, but I find that I don't really need it for this thick. This leather is thin enough, so I'm just using my regular needles. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this stitched. I'm using a little bit longer stitch for this, and when I get that done, I'll be back with the next step. I'm back from my sewing machine, and I did stitch all the way around it. On the back side, I'm just going to trim away some of the lace that I don't need on the edges here. Now I'm going to lay the yo-yo kind of where I want it, and it is going to be not directly on the lace, but I want it to kind of form well with the motif of this lace and the scalloped edge here, and then also lay my little flower on here. And some of these I use the stem. I think this one I'm going to cut the stem off and just use the little flower itself. Now it's back to my sewing machine, and I will be free motioning this on. I'll set my camera up at the sewing machine so you can kind of see what I'm doing with that. And I won't be catching all of it, but I'm just going to want to kind of catch a few pieces of the yo-yo, a few pieces of the motif, just so they all stay together. I do have my layers kind of all organized here underneath my sewing machine's presser foot. I have my embroidery foot on, and I have the feed dogs dropped. So I'm going to be doing the motion, and again, I'm not catching all of this. I just want to secure it to the lace and just kind of get everything to stay together. I use a black Sharpie to mark where I want my holes punched. This is again like a 9-inch piece of leather. I mark the holes so that I have like an 8.5-inch and approximately a 7.5-inch adjustment. You can kind of see on this end the two marks. My crocodile works great to punch the holes, and I'm using the smaller hole punch, which is the 1/8 inch, and just kind of line it up to where I can see that black dot and punch it, and it goes really easily, goes right through. The holes are punched, and I did attach the little button with my Aleene's Jewelette glue. The last thing to do for this cuff is to put those snaps in. I'm going to link a video down below to a Whitney Sews channel. She just uploaded a video just a couple weeks ago, and I'll link the video on putting snaps in leather. And she did a great job of explaining it and showing the different parts and all that good thing, better than I could explain it. So I'm going to link that for you, and I hope you hop over there and subscribe to her and watch that. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a chance to create just something fun with scraps of leather and vintage lace. The two combination, it's just really a kind of a romantic, kind of a really cool look. So I hope you enjoyed this. Have a great day. Bye, everybody.